Thank you too. I'm not sure as much. Did you?
What's Chip pointing to?
What is this?
Oh.
Okay.
I think it's something Jerry Peterson came up with.
How's it going, Jeff?
Citizens' comments or public hearing? That'd be citizens' comments.
You're on. Okay. Jeff, what's your address? Okay. Chance I'll be able to read that later on.
I have to read it.
Good for you. Good for you. We've got a quorum here, and welcome to the February 13, 2018 Board of the Hendersonville Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. I'd like to start out as we typically do. We have a special guest tonight. His name is Alex Bell, and he is a Sunday school teacher at First Baptist Church. Where are you, Mr. Bell? If you could step up to the podium right here and begin us with prayer, and then I'll start us with our pledge. Thank you so much.
Shall we pray, please? Heavenly Father, we're thankful, Lord, for being in your presence tonight. We thank you for all the people who showed up here tonight and all the families that's being represented tonight. Lord, we ask for special requests this night for Timothy Whitten family, for the McClendon family, for Peter Voss, and the firefighter from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, Jason Dickey. Heavenly Father, we know that you can give comfort and peace to those families at this time, Lord. Healing's needed, and there we pray for those people that special healing will be. We thank you, Lord, for wisdom tonight, that we be able to help our community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Mr. Bell, thank you so much, and thank you for what you do at First Baptist Church, teaching Sunday school. I know you're involved in some other things as well. Thank you. Please join me for our pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
What happened to Peter? His blood pressure went through the roof.
We do not have electronic voting yet. I need a motion to accept the agenda, please. We have a motion. Alderman Skidmore, did you want to add street acceptance?
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Where should we put that?
I'm going to pass these resolution down. It's an acceptance of a dedication of a completed street in Glenbrook, which is Andrew Run's extension that the city should have done a long time ago. It's been through all the committee system. Okay. It's just a slip through there. I'm just going to pass them all down.
Should we make that item H under ordinances resolutions?
Yes, sir.
And what can you tell me the number again?
Yes, resolution 2018-13.
Okay. I would like to add to that, so we have a motion and a second. I hope both of you will allow me to add to that. And that will be a resolution that you're getting right here to complete a personnel staffing situation, and that is resolution 2018. Somebody fill me. 14. And that will be item I. Is that okay with the person who seconded the motion?
We don't have
Even though you haven't actually seen it yet?
He hasn't.
It's coming down. Did y'all end up with a bunch of extras down there? Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to add it to the agenda. Okay, we've got a motion. Actually, the motion was down there. The second, Alderman Gilley, Alderman.
Would it be okay if we vote separately on these? I don't have any problem with either one of them, but they're so different in their.
Well, sure, they're separate.
Let's go to the first motion. The first motion is to add item 2008, resolution 2018-13. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now on resolution 2018-14, I need a motion, please.
I'll move.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that item to add it to the agenda as item I? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. So we have 2 additions to the agenda. Anybody else? Alderman Woodcock, hold on one second. Go ahead.
2 things. First, I have some requests from the Public Works Committee I'd like to add after their report.
Okay.
And then Ham and I have an event we'd like to announce at whatever time you find appropriate.
We'll put you on, actually, I'd like to put that on as a substitute for report on opioid suit. We'll do that probably 2 weeks instead. So instead of opioid suit, we will put your announcement. Okay. Any other proposed changes to our agenda? So we have 2 additions. It's item H and item I. And then we have under ordinances and resolutions. And then we have after Public Works, some questions and statements from Alderman Woodcock. And then under item J, what should we call that, Alderman Woodcock? I got you. Okay. Okay. Announcement. Okay, I need, that is a motion, and that's a motion from Alderman Woodcock. I need a second for those 2 items, please.
Second.
A motion, a second. All those in favor of adding those 2 items, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. Okay, so now we have those 4 items. Those 4 changes to the agenda. All in favor of accepting the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. And that passes unanimously. Next, we have presentations, which we have none, and then a public hearing. We're in a unique situation in that we have continued a public hearing from 5 weeks ago, I believe. And this is the continuation of public hearing to hear comments on a request by Dharmesh Patel to rezone 159E Group B, parcels 25 and a portion of 29, located on the east side of Carrington Road, south of East Main Street, from general commercial to multifamily residential. We have nobody signed up to speak at that hearing, so that hearing is closed. And next we have minutes. I entertain a motion to approve our minutes of January 23rd, 2018. Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor of approving our minutes from January 23rd, 2018, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next we have citizens' comments. We have 2 people signed up to speak. Chris Spencer.
Good evening, Board. I just wanted to come tonight and talk about the blasting in Ward 5. It's been 2 years now since I moved into Ward 5, and literally I've been working on this for 2 years. And it's a big issue here in our ward, I can tell you that, especially for us who work at home and feel the earthquake twice a week. And I have diligently, I've served with Darrell. Darrell's been great. Chief Bush has been great. Shane's been great. Paul's been great. John's been good. Jamie's been great. I know all these people by name because this has been 2 years now. And I've experienced a situation with Rogers Group that they said they want to work with us. I've had many meetings, private meetings with them. They put a seismic graph on my property, but the most interesting thing is they won't give me the information. This has been going on. They've promised me for a year. And now they've taken the seismic meter away from my property because I talked to the attorney for the state of Tennessee. So all I can say is I've done everything for 2 years. I feel like it's been a waste of time. I have went through the fire department. We've went through state legislatures. I've went to them directly, and it's basically run around. When I talked with the state attorney's office last week, she basically said there's not a whole lot we can do. We can't force them to give us the information. And so I've come to the conclusion that they police themselves. Now think about that. We have a company that is using dynamite, shaking our houses in the whole ward, and they get to police themselves. Now, I'm not saying they're breaking the law. They may be well within the law, but we have no way of proving it. And so I've come today, and I've talked with Jamie on several occasions about this, is that I think it's time that the city invest in some seismic graphs themselves so that we can monitor it. And I've talked with the Hancock. They are your former teacher, I understand, and they are the closest property to that locale. And and I think it's bad at my house. They say, Chris, come over our house. So I'm waiting to go over their house to feel their whole wooden structures just move all over the place. But I'm asking that it's time that the meetings do nothing. They absolutely do nothing. And it's time that maybe we monitor it ourselves. And I think that even if we invested in some monitor machines, that we can get that money back through the permit process. You know, if somebody wants to blast in our beautiful city, well, they're going to pay a price for us to monitor it and not allow these companies to police themselves. It's due time that we do something with this. I appreciate your time.
Chris, thank you. Jeff Cundiff.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Jeff Cundiff, 108 Hedgeland Drive. I'm here tonight just to share a passion I have. I've noticed the stormwater ordinance on the agenda, and growing up here, I've noticed the degradation of our infrastructure around stormwater. And I just urge you to support the stormwater ordinance. I think it's a very beneficial thing. I've seen the positive impacts of it on our neighboring communities, and I suggest you support that ordinance. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you very much. We have nobody else wishing to speak on citizens' comments. Next, we have committee reports. Finance Committee, Chairman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report tonight. Our next meeting is February the 27th at 6:30.
Thank you. Chairman Sprouse, General Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. General Committee met tonight. We had 4 items to consider that you may see at a future board meeting. First was Resolution 2018-07. Considering the appointment of Jonathan Hayes as the city's representative on the Sumner County Board of Equalization. The committee recommends that positively. That was a unanimous vote. Ours was the recommendation of Resolution 2018-10, resolution to accept the Beatty Farm property. Should it be donated by the Friends, purchased and donated by the Friends of Benini Lake Peninsula, and the intention would be for that to be passive space without any organized sports activity upon it. We had Resolution 2018-11, resolution authorizing the formation of a sports authority. That is passed, the recommendation came with a 2-1 vote there. And then finally, we had a resolution that has yet to be named, had yet to be numbered, and it was dealing with the appointment of aldermen should there be vacancies. The committee actually placed a negative recommendation upon that by a 2-1 vote. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Sprouse, thank you. Excuse me, Chairman Sprouse. Chairman Brown, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a very long meeting tonight, started at 6 o'clock, and just about got finished with it. So, our first discussion was on Center Point Road safety issues. For a long time, we've had a lot of accidents out there. A very hard turn. We have just an issue coming out of one of our areas out there that makes it tough. We have people at speed, get hurried, don't pay attention, and therefore it causes issues. So what's going to happen is the Public Works Committee and the Public Safety Committee are going to work on reconfiguring some things, looking at over in short term and long term. Ask for a little bit more police presence to slow some people down until we can solve some of those issues and give those folks some relief on Center Point Road and those homeowners out there. We also had discussion and updates on our codes enforcement and revision to those ordinances. We moved codes enforcement from codes, moved it to the police department, and we got an update from our chief and John Henry, our codes officer, on what has been done, what needs to be done, what he feels after a period of time we need to do to enhance his job. So we're going to try to work on a couple issues there. That will be coming before you in the next several months for your approval to make codes enforcement a little bit easier for the folks that are doing that. We also had a discussion on an ECC funding request. Commander Harbsmeyer brought us up to date on that. That'll be more to come at budget time. We had a discussion about the duplication of addresses on Irvin Street. We have a couple streets that EMS has got confused on a couple times. That has some of the homeowners a bit nervous over there. Commander Hobsmeyer and myself are going to talk to the 911 folks and see what we can do about that to make that a little bit better, if there is a solution to it. We had ordinance 2018-9 amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, peddlers and solicitors ordinance. That ordinance hadn't been reviewed for a lot of years. In reviewing of that, it has been decided that we would change our fees to $75. Our waiting period, we would have a waiting period, change our fees to $75 for those solicitors could get approved and go out, which means a more in-depth background check. So I would tell you, if folks knock on your door and they don't have a permit, they're not allowed to be there. The second thing that we've done there is Alderman Gilley and myself and some of the other aldermen I talked to have been getting quite a few calls about folks coming by their house, especially late at night, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening, knocking on the door. Let's face it, nobody really wants to open that door after dark anymore. It's that type of world. So we've asked that ordinance to be changed to daylight hours only. They can only knock on your door and solicit from 8 a.m. until sunset. Will be that'll be addressed at our upcoming meeting. Resolution been before us to Tennessee General Assembly requesting statutory authority to require residential landlord registration. That basically is asking permission for that to come back to this board to have a discussion on landlords being registered, how many landlords we would do, if that would be done for what rental properties and where. That would also help with our codes enforcement and finding some of those corporations that have 3 or 4 owners, maybe of a property. So we've passed that to allow that to happen. We also talked about ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 17, Chapter 2, regarding the burning of construction debris. We dealt with this back last October. We changed several things in there. One of those things was burning debris is not going to be allowed on the property anymore, that the developer construction folks must haul that off. We added a couple pieces of wording in there. That will be coming back again in 2 weeks to this board for passing. Mr. Lucky, if you want to come back at that time and discuss that in depth, do that. We did not get the seismic graphs. We didn't make it, Chris, but we will get there next meeting. It'll be on there. So that's my report.
Chairman Brown, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works.
Yes, just briefly, tonight on the agenda you see a second reading of ordinance 2017-42. We had a special called meeting dealing with that to work out some of the problems, some verbiage and things to make sure, and then also that had a report from our colleague Alderman Sprouse from Ward 2, which I would urge the board. I don't think we need a motion or anything, but at the time of passage of the second reading, I have asked, as Chairman of the Public Works, that Alderman Sprouse, if he would give the same report that he gave our committee members at our special called meeting. It was very informative, and I think it is something that the whole board needs to make a decision on, because this ordinance is such an important ordinance, not only for all the homeowners in Hendersonville, but and how we deal with stormwater issue in this town. So the other thing I want to say is we're having our meeting, our normally scheduled meeting on February 27th at 5:30. So we'll be handling all the public works issues there, and then we'll also be talking about, we will not have the joint meeting at that time with public safety, but we will ask Chairman Brown, if you, and I know your schedule is like everyone on this board is busy at this time of year, getting ready for budget details and getting ready for spring, but we may have to ask you to be there at that meeting to go over the things that we have resolved the issue, or hopefully we can resolve the issue down there on Center Point Road. And I just want to remind my other committee members that this is to be ready for a lot of special called meetings. It's springtime. We have the garbage contract that is getting ready to come before us at the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, that I'm going to call a special called meeting strictly for just the garbage contract. because we have to go over if there's going to be any kind of changes within the contract for garbage, i.e. recycling and other things of that nature. We've got to do it right within the next couple of months, really, is what I'm thinking. So be thinking about some times that will be available for the committee. And we always, as always, we always encourage the other aldermen and constituency in the city of Hendersonville, if they would like to come to our committee, our arms are always open. So just be prepared for our special called meetings, because we're going to be having a lot of them. It's springtime, and that's when Public Works starts really moving hard and fast to try to get these potholes done, paving, drainage, garbage. You know, that is our time when we really work extra hard. We always are working hard, but we're working extra hard. That's it, Mayor. Thank you for your time.
Chairman Skidmore, thank you.
Yes,
Alderman Woodcock.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few requests that I would like the Public Works Committee to work on.
Yes, sir.
And before I say anything, I want to make sure everyone understands this is coming from a good place. There's no hidden agenda or reason I'm asking. I just want answers to these questions.
Sure.
About 2 years ago, we paid, $250,000 for the pavement management program that ranked every road in Hendersonville, worst to best. I would like the list showing the 10 worst roads from that study.
Okay, 10 worst roads, got it.
Then I want a list of all the roads paved in fiscal year 2016 and 17. I want to know the name of the road, the ward that it's in, how much was spent on the project, and then how that works with the pavement management program dictating what's going to be paved the following year. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, yeah.
The second request is the Wessington project.
Yes.
I want to know how much has been spent from beginning to today, or whenever you deliver this information, on that project.
Okay.
And then I want to know how much it was budgeted for.
In the budget.
And to
Got
be
it.
clear and open, I have no problem with the project. I just want to know those answers.
All right, and sure, and Mayor, if I may respond just briefly and quickly. Those are all great questions, and one, not only do you need to know it, but I think every board member needs to know it, and I think the residents of Hendersonville should know it. I will point out, however, as far as our new paving program, this will be the first time that we've been, this paving process will be the first time that we've used that, but we'll go ahead and review those, but we didn't use it last year.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Yeah.
Like I said, I still want the same list. Like I said, and again, I want to be clear, 16, 17. I don't want 17, 18 so that, you know, they can come back and say we haven't received the funding, and so we haven't paved as much.
No, I don't feel those were, you know, intended with any malice in your heart or thought process at all.
And last one, the last request is, I've had at least 2 or 3 projects where the developer had until the end of the year to finish the project.
Okay, yeah.
And in one case, in August, I alerted the Public Works Department that I felt they were sandbagging to get to winter so they wouldn't have to finish it.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened. And I kind of brushed that one off, and then it happened again this year. I want to know why that happens and how we can stop it.
Give us specific projects.
I'm going to throw developers on the bus. I don't want to do that.
Well, why don't we do,
Public Works Department knows which ones I'm talking about.
What I would do, instead of start naming folks and that kind of thing, because they may or may not here to be defending themselves, and I certainly don't want to do that. I just think that's not very,
do you know which ones?
My mama taught me better than do that.
Yeah, I can make sure they know which ones I'm talking about. But if it's a position, I want to know the exact position that needs to be added to Public Works, because what we have is a project gets approved, I assure citizens that it's going to be completed.
Right.
I'm given a date, I give that date, and then it never happens. And so I'm at the point where when a citizen asks me, when's that going to be completed?
I got
Whenever
you.
the developer wants it to be completed. That's kind of where I'm at.
No, I understand, because we've had problems like that in every ward.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I want to know what needs to
Okay.
change to fix that. If it's a
Okay.
position, then I will be the first one to make sure it's on the budget and gets approved.
Okay, great, and I appreciate your help like that.
Alderman Woodcock, anything else?
No.
Alderman Skidmore, anything else on this?
No, sir, thank you.
Alderman Gilly, on the report that Alderman Woodcock is giving?
Well, I just
point of clarification.
A question and a point of clarification for myself personally, I guess. The question is, I think, Mr. Chairman, you can tell us, I think some of the very requests he already asked are being worked on currently to be presented at the next Public Works meeting about paving.
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
We are, but.
That's what I thought.
I
But
still
so that's
want-
good that I think everybody's on the same page wanting to know.
Hold on just a second. Alderman, Chairman Skidmore, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. But Alderman Gilley, you are correct, but still, I feel that Alderman Woodcock is right.
Oh, yeah.
I think that every alderman should know. I mean, I just think you should as an alderman, and especially how the roads are with this new project that we're starting anew. And so we're looking forward to doing that.
A point of clarification that I've been confused on greatly myself, when it comes to Wessington Place, the
Right.
the funding for that, out of the 2.8 million that we've appropriated for paving for this fiscal year, am I to understand none of that is to go to Wessington Place?
Right.
That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I apologize, but
Go ahead.
let's just say, make one thing clear on the Wessington Place project, which was, in my estimation, a very needed project over in Ward 6. It was desperately needed. But I will say this, we worked in conjunction with the utility district, and we had some problems with that, but like I said, I'm not going to throw anybody, but that was a kind of even though we did a lot of the work, there was some problems with that, and that's why it took.
Hold
Okay,
on.
all right.
Alderman
Thank
Woodcock,
you.
anything
Thank you,
else? Alderman Skidmore, anything else?
No, sir, that's it. Thank you.
Chairman Campbell, capital projects, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Capital Projects had our meeting on January the 31st. We had Keith Free from the Planning Department come to us and talk with us about long-term capital improvements projects for the city of Hendersonville and a financing program for that long-term. It'll also be part of the impact fees that we were talking about. We'll incorporate those two items together for long-term. So he'll be getting in touch with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen regarding those issues and us coming up with a reality list and a wish list of what we'd like to see here in our city for long-term planning. Just to let everyone aware of that. Item number 2 is the Mayor's Magical Place, the all-inclusive park. We'll have their groundbreaking soon. It was supposed to be this Thursday, but due to the weather, I think they're going to put that off a few more days.
No.
No, it's going to be Thursday? Thursday, 5 o'clock Thursday, the 15th. Okay.
It's Thursday.
Well, good.
Sorry
I was
about
curious.
that. I should have told you earlier, sorry.
I got a little note there saying, hey, cancel it, so. All right, that's a particular citizens group raised $800,000, a little over $800,000 in cash. They also had $400,000 in-kind contributions to them for a total of $1.2 million raised for that particular project. We really appreciate their efforts on that. The police horse barn will be on next month's planning agenda, so that's moving along. It just takes time to get everything up and through the planning and approved. And then Fire Hall number 2, the project should be awarded end of February, mid-March. So just to let you know where Fire Hall number 2 is at. The Saunders Ferry Walking Trail, we're applying for an additional grant to help with the additional cost. That's come in over budget by about $1 million, and we're available to have another grant issued on that, and the city is looking to apply for that, and we hope to get that grant to help cover the cost. The railroad underpass at Winston Hills is in the process of an environmental study for the next 3 months. There's some salamander out there, I understand, it's holding that little project up, so environmental impact study is going on. The Walton Ferry Shackle Island Road realignment is moving along through the process. The bank building should be demoed soon. Everybody's been asking about that. They had some asbestos in there. They had to remediation on to get rid of that first, and then they're going to tear down the building. The traffic signal vendor should be selected for our traffic signalization. Should be selected in the next 30 days. And that concludes my report. Mr.
Alderman
Chairman,
Campbell, thank you. Chairman Campbell. Alderman Petrelli, Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Hendersonville Regional Planning Commission met on Tuesday, February 6th. Approved projects are Lakeview Acres, lots 10A and 10B, final plat. Savannah Phase 7, final plat. Meadows of Indian Lake, Phase 5, which is the street acceptance, and Glenbrook North Phase 3, Section 8, which is street acceptance. Deferred by applicant is the Greg Sal property located on the east side of Saundersville Road, south of Lower Station Camp Creek Road. And 2 staff reviewed approved projects are the Wendy's exterior renovation, which I think they're almost done. Looks pretty good. And Mid-South Rentals exterior renovation site plan. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Petrelli. Alderman Woodcock, Hendersonville Horizons.
Thank you, Mayor. The game plans, for lack of a better term, will be going through the separate committees, presenting our goals, trying to work out who's going to do what. That should be starting very soon. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Alderman Petrelli, something on that one?
Yes, may I ask a question?
On Hendersonville Horizons, feel free.
Yes. So Alderman Woodcock, on the Hendersonville Horizons, they did a beautiful packet, and I appreciate everybody's time. As they go through the committees, I think what would be most beneficial to the aldermen, or at least for me, is adding on fiscal responsibility, meaning go ahead and price out those projects, or if they have a project that they think is imperative for Hendersonville, what the cost is, what the tax implications are, because a lot of in their presentation were projects that I think the aldermen, we would like to see implemented, but we need to know what the cost affiliated with each project is. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Mayor's report, a couple things. One is, feel free to share this information. Potholes, the best way to report a pothole is streets@hvilletn.org. That's for anybody. It's anybody sees something, let us know where they are. We've had some that it's a small hole, becomes a big hole very, very quickly. Please let us know about those. Other item I want to mention is that the city will be accepting resumes for the upcoming vacancy of Ward 3 Alderman beginning tomorrow, February 14th. These need to come into Kay Franklin, our city recorder. The last day to submit those resumes will be Wednesday, March 5th. That's going to be at 5 p.m. And the appointment will expire on November 27, 2018. What that means is the person that gets appointed to that position, that their term ends with the election that's this November. That person will really only be appointed for the next 7-8 months. They will have to run for re-election. In Ward 3, we'll have 2 elections this year, just like Ward 1 last time. And we likely will make a decision, this board likely will make a decision from those resumes on March 13th. And they will take office at the meeting following that. Steve Mills, can you come up and help us out some? We can make the decision ahead of time. We don't have to wait till she's gone to make the decision. Okay. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Real quickly, last year we applied for a home grant through THDA and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and we were awarded $500,000. This money can be used by the people in our community that have the least ability to do improvements and maintain their properties. People in low income, people with disabilities, senior citizens, and there's several other categories. It is income-based. We checked with THDA this morning. They've had less than a half a dozen applicants so far. So the reason I'm here at the podium is to encourage you, those that are listening or watching on cable, and also for y'all, if you as you have your meetings with your constituents, if you know somebody, please have them get in touch with us. We have some of the paperwork. We do not actually receive the applications, nor do we rate the applications. That's done through THDA. And I will be leaving 10 of them here so if you want to pick up a few of them as you go out. Let's see, I think one of the, I will be going out to some civic groups and to the Community Pastors Association and several others, and sharing with them the availability of these loans. We just can't let this opportunity pass. This is a forgivable loan as long as the individual maintains their property over a period of time. If you have any questions, yes. Oh, excuse me.
Sure. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. What's the deadline, Steve?
It's a continuing, but if the applications quit coming in, they may close the program. But it can go as I think it's like 18 months. So but we had one application until last week. One application.
Okay.
And although we are very proud of our community and the affluence of our community, there are a lot of people in this city that need help. But they don't necessarily watch cable TV or come to board meetings or that type of thing. So please get the word out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We need a report on our negotiations with the county on the Hawkins property. And Pat, you want to do that one?
I was spoken with him since last time we had a meeting here.
Can you tell?
I'll do it.
Okay. Alderman Gilly.
I was contacted myself by County Commissioner Decker, and he informed me that when we first met, the ad hoc committee met with the county ad hoc committee, and all that went on. When we first met, we were under the understanding, based on information that the county executive and the county commissioners gave us, that they would be unable to give cash considerations for any of our property at that time, that they were only going to provide site plan and architecture work should we be willing to part with any of our land at the Hawkins property. According to Mr. Decker, they now say that they could give cash consideration for our land, and that they apparently have an extension on the grant that they received, $500,000 grant that they have that we thought was going to end, and now they have an extension. They were looking at land at other places in Hendersonville, and according to him, he asked we would go back and kind of look at that again. I then suggested that we put for discussion, I think on the next Public Works agenda, Mr. Skidmore has put on there, Chairman Skidmore, sorry, for discussion of an official appraisal of our property that we own. Mr. Isbell had sent us a very rough estimate of $150,000 an acre that it could be worth, but he strongly recommended that we get an official appraisal, so we don't have to get an appraisal, but I thought that would be a way that we could know exactly what assets we have and how much they're worth, and if at that time we want to make an offer, it's kind of like selling your house. If you want to put a price on it and somebody wants to come get it, then maybe they want to come get it, maybe they don't. But I just thought that would be a prudent step on our part to show good faith and discuss it at that time. That's all I know. If anybody knows anything else, they're welcome to say it.
Alderman Gilly, you may be the right person to ask this question, you may not, and possibly somebody needs to get back to me, but didn't we ask them for an offer at one point?
We asked them for an offer, but at that point, that's when they said that it was site work and architecture plans, and now apparently they've decided that they could spend their grant money on land acquisition.
Okay.
If necessary.
Okay. I appreciate everybody who's serving on that committee. I know.
Well, we hadn't even met as a committee in a long time, so Ms. Cunningham there.
Hold on here.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Alderman Gilly?
Alderman Cunningham, go ahead.
Okay. Did they ever, we passed a resolution at the board level for them to make an offer. Did they ever respond to that resolution?
I don't think we ever voted on anything for them to make an offer. I know we
yes,
talked.
we did.
Maybe we did. I don't.
I think it was in October. Of last
if we
year.
did, I don't remember that. I know we discussed something in the general committee, but I don't think we officially voted on anything. I might be wrong.
I could be wrong too, but
maybe Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you. I think I can probably clear. Thank you, Mayor. I think I can probably clear this up. Just to give a little historical background on this, to go from where we started and where we are now, is my understanding of this is this. With the added information that Alderman Gilly has just given us. If this board will remember, there was an ad hoc committee that was formed by this board with Alderman Petrelli, myself, Alderman Cunningham, and Andy Gilly, or Alderman Gilly. And we were to meet with the county. Well, we did that. And everything, I mean, there's nothing clandestine here. Everybody operated in good faith. Then, once we became, we asked them for certain considerations. The county was to go back and discuss it with their group. At that time, the ad hoc committee had done its responsibility that you all had, this board had given it. The mayor and the board of mayor and aldermen had board of aldermen had given us. It went back to general committee, and then at that time, and I think Alderman Sprouse and Alderman Gilly and Alderman Woodcock are the members of that board. The county commissioner that was in charge of that delegation, Commissioner Decker, came to that board meeting, and we did ask, or let me back up, that general committee asked for a price. That was where it was left off. After that, there was no discussion, and anybody can correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, but that was after that. There was no discussion from the county nor the city. We were kind of waiting on them to give us a price. Does everybody kind of feel that way is what happened as well?
I think a lot of people shaking their heads.
Yeah, everybody's saying yes. Okay, I feel good. So that's where we are, so we're waiting on that.
Oh, hold on just a second. Alderman Sprouse, I'll get you.
Thank you. I buzzed in before Mr. Skidmore, so I'll just be really quick. We did have a very, very short discussion in general committee. The reason why it was a very short discussion, it was as he described, there were quite a few members of the board, so we kind of had a official vote of the general committee after the input of all the aldermen who were in the room. And it was a very short and sweet discussion that said, we are interested in discussing. We're interested in making a deal with you, but the very next step has to be you come to us with a number. And I think that that's really the most appropriate step. And I'm not very happy if the next step that was on the table months ago was you come to us with a number, that we now make the next step, we're going to appropriate money so we can come up with a number.
Alderman Sprouse, thank you. Thanks. Alderman Gilly.
At the time, I think their offer was site work and architectural fees. That was their offer.
Okay.
I don't think at the time County Commissioner Decker was of the opinion that he could make an offer of cash consideration.
Okay.
I will tell you my personal opinion is that no matter whether we're dealing with the county or not, I'd like to know how much a piece of property is worth. So that's another reason why I asked to put it on the discussion at the Public Works agenda.
Alderman Gilly, thank you. Alderman Petrelli.
I did just want to clarify that once we get to the bottom of this situation about who's making an offer, if there's an offer, if we wind up getting an appraisal on the property, that once we take those steps doesn't necessarily mean that the city's going to relinquish that property. I just wanted to make that clear for citizens out there, because there's a lot more facts involved with information regarding who uses the health department. I mean, 60% of the folks that use the current health department located next to the hospital come from outside of the county, outside of the city. So, I mean, there's a lot more discussions, but this, this chicken or the egg situation with making an offer on the property is the first step. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Petrelli, thank you. Alderman Brown.
I would just echo what Alderman Gilly said. I myself would like to know what that value, that piece of property is in today's numbers. It has nothing to do whether anybody offers this, or we make an offer, or they make an offer. I'd just like to know the value. Our ECD guy would like to know the value of that piece of property, probably. So I think that's just good business that we know that. So.
Alderman Brown, thank you. Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, just a brief comment, and I know we probably beat this to death, but it is an important issue that we do need to discuss. What we could do is, we'll have Chip take a look and see who we use in Public Works that would go out and do an appraisal, and just kind of and discuss it in committee and kind of keep it among us. I'm sure the county will kind of know they're pretty smart fellows and ladies and gentlemen up there at the county, they are. And I'm sure they've got an idea of already what they're willing to do, and they're just kind of curious. It's the old saying, you all have heard me say this 1,000 times up here, it's called posturing, and that's what's going on right here. And we'll just have to see what, in my opinion, that's not a good thing or a bad thing. That's just the way county and city politics works in Sumner County and Hendersonville. So we'll just see what, if it's okay with the board, we'll try to come back with some figures for everybody and see where we are. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Next on the agenda is Alderman Woodcock with an announcement. Oh, I got to turn you. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor. As a citizen spoke about earlier, Ward 5 and some other wards in Hendersonville have been dealing with blasting both from developers and Rogers Group. And just to remind the board, the city has zero power over blasting, none whatsoever. So the meeting is not come to City Hall and voice your concerns and we'll fix them. It's to update the citizens on what's happening over the last 2 years that we've been working on this. I have been meeting with state elected officials. I begged for them to give us the power to manage our own blasting regulations. That was shut down before I even finished the sentence. So that is not going to be happening. All the power is at the state and it has to change at the state. So the event is here at City Hall this Thursday, 7 p.m. It's citizen-led. We've got a good group of citizens working on this issue, and since the city has no power or rights in it, that's why it's a citizen-led movement. So if you have any interest in that event, be here this Thursday, 7 p.m. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Alderman Woodcock. Next on the agenda is ordinances and resolutions. The first one is second reading of ordinance 2017-42. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code Title 8, Chapter 3, implementing a stormwater management program in the city of Hendersonville. Alderman Campbell. So moved?
Yes, sir. So moved.
Okay. I need a second.
I was reading the paragraph.
We have a motion and a second from Alderman Woodcock. What are you doing? Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I knew you wanted to speak. I
see around Mr. Campbell's hair sometimes. So,
Alderman Sprouse, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I first want to thank the board for putting this off for a couple of weeks because I had some concerns, had some information I wanted to present, and I was afraid if it was presented without first going into the Public Works Committee, giving them the respect and the benefit to review that information and get their input, that it could cause the possibility as being viewed as against stormwater utility. And this is a project and an effort I very much support and don't want on second reading to throw something out in front of everyone, catch them by surprise, and then unfortunately derail what's a good project. But I appreciate them valuing the information enough to ask me to come and present the same information to y'all. And a lot of this has to deal with the size of the stormwater utility, but most importantly, the funding mechanism, and that is something that's before us tonight. And it has to deal a little bit with straight fees versus what do we pay from the property tax. And Mr. Brown maybe, but I don't, definitely Mr. Frost, Mr. Skidmore, were here when we've had a lot of discussions years and years ago about the garbage fee. And is the garbage fee something that we should do as a flat fee and every resident pay the same amount? Or is it something that we do as part of the property tax? And it's been a while since we've had that discussion, but I think it applies very much with stormwater utility because the garbage fee is a fee for service. It doesn't matter. I mean, we can go and say this is exactly how much it costs the city to pick up trash at each house. And that's what we charge people. And there's no really correlation between your property value and how much trash you generate. You can have small families in large houses. You can have small houses on large properties. You can have young people and old people. There's not very much correlation between age, property value, and the amount of trash that you generate. There are a lot of services that we do provide that we can't correlate. Most of the services we provide, we can't correlate to a specific resident. We can't say it cost you this much. We don't know how much it costs to provide police protection to each individual resident. We can take an average, but no resident's going to really get that average. There's going to be some people, if you're very, very lucky, you could live in Hendersonville for 60 years. And while you have the benefit of the umbrella of police and fire services, you don't recognize the full value of those services, and you hope you never do. Same thing with parks, same thing with roads and sidewalks. It's just, there's the things that we pay to because we pay based upon our value, the value of our property, and we receive the services as we need them, as they apply to us. Also with the trash fee, it was one of them we work a little differently as a fee because it's a service we don't provide to commercial residents. Commercial property owners, we don't provide it to apartments. They're considered commercial property. So we give it directly to the people that we do. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is how do we handle that? And I think that one of the things we really need to seriously consider doing is instead of charging a flat fee, is considering making it part of the tax rate. Because the tax rate is how we pay for infrastructure. The tax rate is how we pay for police services and fire services and police services and every other piece of infrastructure that we have in the city. And this is one of those. The other concern, and it comes up sometimes with the trash fee, is fees are regressive. They are naturally regressive. Our tax rate accounts for one important thing. It decides what portion of the community someone owns. So if you had $1 million of value in the community, say we're a much smaller town, and someone owned $1,000 property in a $1 million community, they would have 1,000th of the community. Their tax bill would be 1,000. Someone who had twice the property value would pay twice that bill. But let's look a little bit about what happens when we start looking at fees. And I have some charts, Mark. I have two graphs and one chart, if you would pass those out to everybody on the board. And one thing to look at is how does the tax rate affect anybody? And I have here on the scale, and this is what's going to be on the paper for the folks who are on the board, but we're looking at a scale of residential property values from 100,000 to 1 million. And our average property, last time I know, the average residential property was valued for about $180,000. It probably has increased, but it's going to say somewhere between 150 and 200,000. But if we do a 1 cent tax increase, or 1 cent we add to that, let's say this person lives in a $150,000 home. That is going to be a 1.3% increase on their current tax bill. Their current tax bill, minus the fee for trash, is $284.25. We add a penny, we're going to be increasing their tax bill by $3.75. But if you notice, it's very flat. Everyone in the community who owns residential property, their tax bill would go up only by that small percentage point. But it would be equal. Same thing with, oops, I went backwards instead of forwards, I apologize. Same thing with 2%. Again, very small increase across the board, but it's applied equitably. The numbers for that same $150,000 property would be 2%. Well, 2.6%, $7.50. You see, the same thing works if we add a nickel and if we add a dime. It applies very quickly. If we added a dime to the tax rate for someone in a $150,000 house, their tax is only going to go up 13.2%. And I say only because you'll see in a moment what I mean by, and the bill that's currently $284 will go up $37.50. What's before us tonight is to add a flat fee of $6 a month or $72 a year to every residential property owner regardless of value. But let's think a little bit about this. Where it's hard to associate property value with garbage generation from a residential standpoint. There are a lot of factors that deal with stormwater that directly relate to property value. The larger the property is, the more impact it's going to have. As a collector, the more need it's going to have for projects because of collectors upstream, the more valuable that property is going to be. And then you can turn around and look at some of the factors that are going to talk about what's going to keep a lower value. Smaller property. There's a direct correlation many times between the age of the property and its value. Older properties tend to have longer-term residents. Longer-term residents tend to be older residents. And those are people who are most affected by the new developments. We hear all the time, oh, this didn't happen. We've lived here 30 years. We've never had a problem until such and such was built. And that gets down to one of the questions about, again, under the umbrella services. We hear from time to time we don't need a stormwater utility because it's only going to affect 1 in 50 properties. No. If you have water in your property, it's not necessarily because of the water that's landing, the rain that's landing in your property. It may be a half mile up the road. It could be the 20 properties immediately around you. They may never know. So that's why we have to look at this. Here's the big thing for me. That's what it looks like, the impact as a percentage standpoint, if we add $6 a month or $72 a year to residential property owners in Hendersonville. That same property owner with a $150,000 property who would experience only a 1.3% increase if we put a penny on the tax rate, or a 13.2% increase if we put a dime on the tax rate, is all of a sudden going to experience a 25.3% increase to their tax rate. They're going to see $72 onto their bill instead of $73.50. And I apologize, I'm sure y'all all know what regressive means, but this is the straight up definition of regressive. That it's going to be a situation where the folks who may easily least need the services and least able to support those services are going to have proportionally the greatest increase to the bill that they receive from the city. A couple of other benefits that we have is if we added it to the tax bill, we know right now, without having regard of any changes to state law or federal law, we know that property taxes are deductible. Now, there's some debate about how many people are going to continue deducting certain things, and homeowner taxes and local taxes, but it's still a factor that's there. Particularly for the further you get to the right, the lower the impact is on it, those are the property owners most likely to deduct. It's freezable. A few years ago, the city of Hendersonville set up a program in cooperation with the county that senior citizens below a certain income level have the ability to have their property tax frozen. We could theoretically double the tax rate in the city of Hendersonville, and these folks would not have a single penny increase to their bill. Can't freeze a fee. So someone who's sitting there looking at a 25, possibly a 30, 35% increase is going to see it. If it was a fee, they wouldn't see if it was a tax. There's some updates or some possibility of legislation that would help us with demandability, but it's a lot easier under current law to make someone pay their property tax bill. It's very hard to collect for a fee because if someone doesn't, if someone doesn't pay their water bill, you turn off their water. What do you do if they don't pay their stormwater drainage fee? Do you turn off the rain? It's still going to be there. And the final thing I wanted to show you has to do with flexibility and the size of it. Right there is the graph. Bottom line's 1 million, top line's 5 million. I left off the police and the fire department. They're our largest departments. But this is to give you an idea of what's projected right now is $2.3 million in the next year for stormwater projects. Now, every one of them are valuable projects. But what we're looking to do is to ramp at such a rate that we would be creating essentially a new department within Public Works that is about half the value of everything they do right now. Sidewalks, chipping services, everything, all the paving, all the road construction, everything that they do in Public Works outside of garbage, which is through that separate fee, larger than our entire Parks Department. And what's troublesome with that is we've talked about how that can be a scalable fee and we can move it up and down and back and forth, but I don't normally see fees go down. Whereas if it were something we put in the tax rate, over time, we've been told that originally we'll be doing big projects and construction projects, and once you start fixing all the problems, you're really getting into maintenance, and we won't need that fee. Well, if it was part of the tax rate, at the end of a budget year, if the Public Works Director came to us and said, I had $100,000 left over in the stormwater utility, and we had collected it as part of the property tax, it was in the general fund, we could transfer it to sidewalks or paving or any of the other projects, just like we do any other time a department head comes to us and says they have a surplus in their line item. My desire is that we do the stormwater utility. and that we fund it in the most equitable way possible, that it accounts for our responsibility to those who came before us, who may not have anticipated what potential tax rates could be 30 years, 40 years after they bought their property. They no longer have the ability to pay for an increase. That it recognizes how long you've lived here, how much property you own, how much you're actually contributing to the problem, and how much you actually need to draw from the solution of the utility. And that we also look at the size of it, so that we were responsibly creating a new arm of government to maximize its impact, but at the same time to minimize the burden. The one thing we hear is this is mandated by the feds, and that is something we have to consider. They are not looking for an immediate solution. They're looking for us to take immediate action that takes us in the direction towards a solution. They recognize this is it's a long time to set up a solution, and it takes even longer to fix it. My request is that we wait, because if any other department came to us and asked for $2.3 million, especially in February, we would say, we're a month away, 2 months away from putting together next year's budget. We're going to have a good idea what the size of the overall city is going to be. We're going to have a pretty good idea what the tax rate's going to be. Can we just hold off a few months and have this as part of this larger discussion so we can be as appropriate in our response and as responsible in our response? I thank you, Board.
Alderman Stamper.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the previous alderman's clear time and efforts put into his presentation, and I think it was valuable for us to be reminded a little bit about how regressive tax works and progressive tax, and how the trash is kind of a hybrid. The only thing that really stuck at me was topography isn't concerned about property values. We've got an overabundance in Ward 6 of homes at a lower property value that would probably disproportionately benefit, at least in the short term, and a lot of the projects that are anticipated are not tied necessarily to property values. So I'm not sure that there's a right answer, but I understand for folks that live in $1 million homes, what's $60 or whatever it is, $72 a year is not much, and for folks on fixed income that is a little bit more of a bear. But I don't know there's a right answer on how to do it, but I'm okay with the solution we have as presented. So I support the ordinance. Thank you.
Alderman Stamper, thank you. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask the Chairman of Public Works if he could just bring everybody up to speed on the historical research that they did on the billing mechanism for the stormwater management program, so that folks out in the community understand that this has been a process for over 2 years now. Thank you.
Alderman Skinner, we have no obligation to answer that, but feel free.
Okay, I'll do it briefly because I know you guys are tired of hearing me talk about stormwater drainage because it's such a important issue, and I appreciate Alderman Petrelli's question because it is an important question. What we did, we have been working on this about over 2 years. And we wouldn't be here tonight if the federal government had not come to us as a municipality and said, hey, this is a federal mandate. Oh, by the way, it's an unfunded mandate. You got to deal with it, but you better do it, because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. And I said, okay, we all said, okay, so we're all in it, and that's what happened. And so we started from that point to get to where we are. Numerous hours have been spent by Alderman Campbell, myself, and Alderman Waters, and I can't appreciate enough of their help, and of course with Public Works Department. the man hours that we've put in on this thing is untold, actually. It's just unreal, the meetings we've had. So we got everything done, but the holdup was about how we were going to build this. And so and along with the mayor's office, which I'm very appreciative of what he has done, and I might, Alderman, or Mayor, excuse me, I apologize, have you tell, some of your efforts, what you've done at the legislature. We were having a problem. We were going to originally have this build. We were hoping that the Hendersonville, because a lot of people still to this day don't realize we don't own the utility district. It's a separate entity within itself. And I know when Alderman Petrelli and myself, we get out in our district and we start talking about, God, these water rates are, and I was like, well, don't kill the messenger here. We're dealing with the city. That's not the city. There's two utility districts that run the water in Hendersonville, and that is the White House Utility District and the Hendersonville Utility District. But anyway, I digress a little bit. So we were wanting to get the billing structure for our residents through those two entities, and that fell through. And so we were struggling. We had everything set up, everything is good so far. We had every question that could possibly be asked to us answered, except that one question. And then when that didn't come through, said, well, how are we going to do this? And so we went to the mayor's office. And so, Mayor, I keep calling you Alderman Cleary because I'm getting old. You're our mayor now. And so, Mayor, if you would tell us what you have done, what our struggles were, and then you stepped in and helped.
I appreciate that. The hard part is we don't own utilities, and the Public Works Department, the Public Works Committee had approached the two water utilities that serve Hendersonville Utility District and White House Utility District, to ask them to bill this monthly and pass the revenue to us. We were unsuccessful in getting them to do that for us. The state law is very specific that we can contract with those utilities to do it for us, or we can contract with the county to do it for us. We can't do it ourselves. So the next thing was we went to the county and talked to them, and they seemed to be working through a couple hurdles to do it, working with Trustee Marty Nelson, and we seem to be getting that direction. It'd be nice if we didn't have to do that, if we could just do it ourselves, if we just put it on our property tax bill. We have to get legislation to the General Assembly to do that. There's two ways we can do that. We can change the wording on our trash fee to trash and stormwater utility fee, or we can be allowed to add a whole different line to our property tax bills. Right now, our property tax bill goes out, and you pay the property tax, and you pay the trash fee, and then you have the total down below. We would either add a third line or just increase the trash fee to trash and stormwater utility fee. As I said, we have to get approval from the General Assembly to do that. So we're sort of working on three possibilities. One is having the county bill it for us, and the other two are working with the state. I feel confident that one of those are going to work out before October. And October is when our property tax bills go out, and when the county sends their property tax bills go out. And at that point, we should start seeing some revenue for our stormwater utility. And what we're doing tonight is setting that, and the proposal before us is to make it $6 per month. If it goes on our property tax bills or the county property tax bill, it will be $72 per year. Alderman Skidmore, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor. And I hope that explains where we were with our dilemma as far as how the billing was going to affect us up here. I do want to say a couple of things about the ordinance. It's been, in a way, it's been a long time coming because we live by the Old Hickory Lake. We do have a lot of drainage problems because the water comes from the northern part of the county and comes right through Hendersonville. And if you have, all I could ask the board members, and I know every single board member on this board has had constituents that they've been in their house and they've been ankle deep in water, or they've been knee deep. And you've seen some of the the family members literally in tears because their house is flooded. We've experienced the flooding out in every, I don't know that the committee has gone in one aspect of the city of Hendersonville and has said that we've got them in Ward 1. Our ward is the oldest in town, and we literally, every time, we cross our fingers every time we see the rain coming, because we don't know who's, Curtis Cross. I mean, I could name all the streets in Hendersonville that our committee has gone through, and there's not a ward in town. It is a problem that affects every single part of Hendersonville, every area. And so I encourage passage. I firmly believe, I'm not saying that this is going to be the make-all, the tell-all of helping every single drainage project or problem we have in Hendersonville, but we are no longer, with this, we have manipulated and folded and molded it into, we're no longer going to have to take the Band-Aid effect of every single drainage problem we have in the city of Hendersonville. We can fix the big ones, and then we can start the small ones. And we won't have the problem of, hopefully, when we go, when there's a driveway issue with water going across and not into the people's yards anymore. I envision that for the city. I envision that for this board. And I think you all have the same vision as I do, as trying to correct these problems. We've started, if you think about, and I'm proud of this, I will say this and I'll close, Mayor. I'm proud of the board because they have taken a proactive approach, whereas I've been a member of this board for quite some time, on and off for many, many years, and I've been guilty of the same thing by offering Band-Aid solutions to the very thorny problems of drainage projects or drainage problems we have in the city. But this is something that we can have. It has teeth. It can help the constituency, and I urge passage of this ordinance. It gives us the foundation that we need to take care of our constituency when it comes to drainage. If you look at what this board, and I'm very proud of, has done in the past, I guess 2 to 3 years, we've revamped our paving because we've been we've been pretty good at it, but we could do better, and we're going to be with this new system that you all have passed. If we pass this tonight, we've got a new system dealing with drainage. We've got this new traffic signalization program that this board has passed. We are surpassing so many other the boards of mayor and aldermen that a lot of us up here have been a part of. This board has really made a proactive effort in trying to solve the problems of becoming a town instead of a suburb of Nashville. We're becoming a town, and I think that's the beauty of where we are, because we're on the ground surface of this occurring, and we're molding it and shaping it. We're no longer, we want to keep that family atmosphere and those kind of things, and we're going to do that. It's not us, it's you all. The public does that. But it's the infrastructure that we are attacking and we're addressing in this town, and I'm proud to be a part of that. And there's going to be growing pains, I'm not going to deny that. But we're here to address those things. So I guess that's all I could say to that, where we are and where we've come from about the billing. I would urge passage of this ordinance, and hopefully we'll be able to start resolving as soon as we start getting the thing funded and start moving forward. You'll be getting to see the fruits of the program. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Board, for your indulgence.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Alderman Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the stormwater utility is basically a new department within the Public Works Department, designed specifically for checking detention and retention ponds, new construction, drainage ditches. Some of our older neighborhoods where you might have lived at for 30 or 40 years, and maybe your house is, your ditches in front of your house are no longer what they used to be. Maybe they put in there flush with the road. Well, guess what? The ditches need to be re-established for drainage properly. Everybody thinks the city is responsible for all the ditches going beside houses, behind houses. In the past, we have not. we will with this. We'll be able to go in there and fix those ditches. And we had a 5.5-hour meeting here in City Hall with drainage specifically, just a town hall meeting with drainage issues. And myself and Skidmore were here, Alderman Skidmore were here, and Chip Moore, and for 5.5 hours answering angry constituents' issues related to 3-foot high water in my house and things of this nature. And people were begging us to pass this particular type of legislation to get these issues for the long term. Other things that it'll do, it also check water quality running from streams downstream. Dirt, gravel in the road, things of this coming from construction sites. That'll be a part of this as well, to where builders will have to maintain that. Erosion controls will be enforced at a much higher level. All kinds of things will be increased. Inspections, fines, fees, inspection fees going through the planning department for new development. And it's a win-win for the city, in my opinion, for people who've been dealing with runoff, erosion, and things of this nature. And I'm supporting this, and we spent over 2 years working on it. And thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Campbell, thank you. Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank my colleague from Ward 2 for the study and his research, and I could see that point of view too. But I really don't see the correlation between a property, the value of a property, and some drainage issues. And I know from my ward alone, it's the properties that are to the mid to the lower values that have been there for a longer amount of time.
Thank you.
That use a lot of the drainage resources, so to speak, because I guess for settling, they didn't have the regulations that they do now, that they did maybe 40 years ago or 30 years ago, and we've improved upon that as new construction has come about. And I think that, and I could appreciate where he's coming from, though. I understand the flexibility of that other program, too, where you can take what's left over and allocate it to other projects. But I think that I will support this ordinance the way it stands. I think it's equitable, even though $1 million home may be paying $72 and a $200,000 home may be paying the same $72, but that $200,000 home may be using a lot more resources than the $1 million home. Or the people that are living in the $1 million home may be taking care of it themselves with drainage ditches and hiring their own people to clean them out and such. So I'm going to support this ordinance. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Cunningham. Alderman Waters.
Thank you, Mayor. I am confused. It's nothing new, I know, but I've got two questions. One to the Chairman of Public Works, if I may, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding we are voting tonight on the stormwater that we worked in Public Works for years, right?
Alderman Skidmore.
Thank you, Mayor. That is correct. It's ordinance 2017-42.
I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I can read. But my question is, we're not voting to approve the alderman that stood up there for 15 minutes. We're not approving his, are we?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Alderman Waters, anything else?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'll let you know when I'm through.
Thank you.
I want to call Chip to come to the podium, please. Now, Chip, educate me, because I know everybody's smarter than I am on this board. But didn't we vote to move the funds to a line item to be used for stormwater utilities only? Yes, sir. We did. So that's where it is right now. It's going to stay there. It's going to be used strictly for stormwater. Yes, sir. Okay. Because I'm getting confused about him talking about taxes, you know. Thank you. And I hate taxes, but I'm scared to death of them. Okay. But I want to be sure I'm on the right page when I vote. But we're voting for the stormwater utility that we presented to the board from Public Works?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on, we'll make sure Mr. Waters is done.
I yield.
Okay. Alderman Woodcock.
Thank you. Chip, you've answered this in the past, but I cannot remember the answer. Roughly how much money are we currently spending on stormwater type issues in Public Works?
We currently have a line item. Turn your mic on, please.
Oh, I somehow got turned off. Thank you.
We currently have a line item of about $100,000 that we use to replace failing infrastructure under city streets. Sometimes we'll be able to use that for ditches, and we do use that to buy equipment to help clean out driveway pipes so that we can make sure our ditches will flow. Sometimes if we do larger projects with capital projects, there'll be some funds out of there that'll deal with some drainage issues. We also request developers upgrade a lot of downstream structures, so development is still, playing a part of that role, especially outside of the right-of-way. But as far as a line item in my budget, it's about $100,000.
And employees that are in Public Works currently that will be shifted over to stormwater?
Yes, I'll probably, if with the utility, I would like to get another crew so that we could actually start addressing these things proactively instead of reactively. And I would be able to move the city design engineer and the stormwater inspector and the stormwater educator and the stormwater coordinator, those 4 positions, being paid out of this utility instead of out of the general fund.
Which can then be used for other Public Works?
Correct.
Like paving. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chip. I support this. I will be voting for it. I kind of agree that the current funding mechanism is not perfect, but it's the only one that guarantees the money will be used for stormwater, so I will support it as it is in front of me. Thank you.
Alderman Woodcock, thank you. Alderman Strauss.
Thank you, Mayor. As this is the second time I've spoken, if there's anybody, I've already spoken once, so if there's anybody in queue who needs to speak, am I good?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all for your consideration, and just for anyone who's listening, I want to make sure at no time am I speaking against the need for a stormwater utility. In no time am I disrespecting the time and the work that has been put together by our Public Works Committee and the Public Works staff. It was in large part because of respect for that I asked to go to their committee first before I came to this board for the consideration. At the same time, and we deal with this anytime, General Committee spent some time tonight, not hundreds of hours or multiple weeks or months, but we spent some time tonight considering and discussing some legislation that will be before this board in 2 weeks, and I hope that the recommendation of that committee helps you in making your decision. But at the end of the day, we're each elected to make our own decision and do our own research. And so while I recognize the need for the utility and support the creation of the utility, my only concern is with the funding mechanism. And I don't want that to cause this to fail, but then at the same time, I don't want this to be applied inequitably to the citizens who will be funding it, nor do I want to cause any of that inequity to cause people to overly criticize the project. Because I know when I get my cable bill or get my phone bill or anything like that, I see line items for different types of services and fees that are coming directly from the company. And then I start seeing the taxes that I know that they're passing through to federal or government, in some cases local government. And then I see some of these line items that they try to make sound like taxes, but they're not really taxes. It's them recovering cost of business. But they want to make it look like tax. But really at the end of the day, I look at the bottom line. And I look what that bill is. And what's the size of the check that we write to cover that bill. And that's how people are going to look at their tax bill. I've had some situations many times professionally where I have to take an invoice and present it to a client. And I hope to be proud of that. And that I can demonstrate that the work performed is worth the price that's on the invoice. If I ever got to a point there I wanted to try to hide something, to hide a line item, try to recoup something without really saying to the customer, here's what we're paying for, I'd be a little bit worried about the way I conducted business. And let's be frank. One of the reasons that we looked to the county, looked to the utility districts to do the billing, If we were going to do it on a monthly basis, that's very good because we don't have a mechanism for billing people monthly. If we were to charge them $6 a month, it costs us almost, a big portion of that would go to the cost of sending them the invoice, setting up the system to do monthly billing. But here's the part, to be very blunt. One of the reasons that we were looking to do it is we were hoping it would be a charge that would show up on someone else's invoice. And people wouldn't look to it being something towards the city. One of the reasons that we've had discussions and we've talked about making it a fee as opposed to a tax is because there's a certain pride in saying, I didn't raise taxes. But at the end of the day, we're going to be raising the bill. It doesn't matter what each line item says, it's what the people pay at the bottom. And there is a correlation. It's not direct every case, but there are sometimes it is direct because drainage is a problem not where the problem manifests itself. The people who live at the end, who live downhill, live at the end of the stream, that's the symptom of the problem. The problem exists throughout the entire community. It's where the water runs off without being absorbed, without being retained, without being directed somewhere other than this house, this property, where the problem then manifests itself with flooding and with aggressive erosion. I will use my house as an example, my property as an example. It's one in the longest string of areas that the city for decades relied upon sinkholes to provide drainage to the lake. And that system is failing. We don't know if it's because there's collapse, subterranean collapse, so those channels are no longer there. We don't know if it's because trees and other types of debris have clogged it up. But what we do know is that areas that used to get ponds and only occasionally and lose them very quickly, gain them very frequently now and are slow to lose them. Any good sized rain, I'm going to have a pond in my backyard. What we had this last weekend, I'm going to have ponds in 2 areas of my backyard. That rain doesn't come from my yard. Some of it does. But my yard has the ability to absorb what falls upon it. The water, the drainage problem, comes from all the properties that are around me. Unfortunately, one of my neighbors, every drop of rain that falls in their lot first goes to the pond that develops in the back of my yard. What's unfortunate for them is if that pond gets large enough, it hits their house. Water's never gone into my garage. In 2010, it got within 3 inches of reaching the apron, but it was a couple of feet into their house. But I look at the situation and I look at where you cause and you say, well, where's the correlation? One of the reasons my property has the value that it has is I live on about 1 4/10 acres. If I lived on 1 acre, if I lived on half an acre, if I lived on 1/3 of an acre, my property tax bill would be a lot lower because my property value would be a lot lower. The rain that falls upon my property is greater because the size of my property is greater. The size of my neighbor's property is larger. It's larger than a lot of other places in Hendersonville. Therefore, the property is a little bit more valuable. So I just want to say when you start thinking about these things, it's not speaking against the need for the program. We need that. But it's separating the idea that the drainage problem exists because of what happens where the problem manifests itself. It's actually a problem throughout the entire community. There's a road in front of my house, not just for my house. There's a road in front of my house for everybody who lives around me, and I rely upon the road that's in front of my neighbor's house. And so what I'm asking is that when we look at those, I will benefit if it's a fee as opposed to the tax rate. Hopefully, sometime down the road, it's a very, very low priority project. It's never spoken publicly about it, but maybe my property or ultimately who owns the property where I live now, they can benefit from that. But I don't want to do it on the backs of the people who can't freeze their tax, who right now are having troubles paying their tax rate, and so they have their tax rate frozen. And I don't want to do it on the value of the people who live on a smaller property, have a lower property bill. So the only thing that I'm asking, and if I need to make a motion to do this, it's kind of tough. I don't know if it would be more appropriate to make a motion to defer so that we can work through all the issues, or just do a blanket motion that would instruct staff to reword this in a way that it would be based upon property tax as opposed to a usage fee. Which motion would be more appropriate? I'm open to mayor or as you use chairman or the city attorney. I'm ready one way or the other to make a motion one or the other.
Here's what I think our choices are. We can make a motion to commit, which would be a motion to send it to a committee, or we could have a motion to refer, which is very similar, but that's essentially a motion to defer. Both of those are debatable, and both of those are amendable. I think those are, commit needs to have a certain place that it's going, refer needs to have a certain time in which it comes back.
Okay. I don't want to give anyone the perception they're trying to delay this, to kill it, to lessen it, to weaken its effect in any way. I want to make sure it's equitable in the way that we apply it, and respect the committee's work that was before us. Would it be appropriate to make a motion to send it to Public Works with the instruction to bring it back to us with a funding based upon the property tax as opposed to, or funding based upon general fund as opposed to a service fee?
I think you can make that motion.
I have made that motion.
Explain it to us again, please.
Okay, the motion is to send this to Public Works. How long do you need?
Well, I don't know. That's a subjective question.
Right now, what we have before us is there's no start time in this.
If this is a motion to commit, then it will come back to us at our next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, recognizing that there's no date in this existing legislation to say when it's going to start. There's no date to say when we're going to start billing. There's no date when the fees other than the $6 a month fee is going to stay. I don't see how asking to reconsider the fees is going to slow it down, because if we have the county or any other entity bill it for us, they're not going to bill it for us during this fiscal year. So my motion is to commit it to Public Works with the instructions to restructure to use from the property tax rate as opposed to user fee. And then should that pass, that means it would go to that committee. They would bring it back the exact same thing to us, but the only thing that would change was instead of charging a flat rate fee to all property owners, it would have a structure where it would be based upon property value. It would be part of the tax rate.
Okay.
Everything else would be the same.
Okay, we have a motion.
Yes, I have a motion.
We have a motion. We need a second. Alderman Sprouse, you still have the floor.
Thank you for your consideration, Board.
Thank you. Alderman Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to use my house as an example for anybody. I just can't get over my colleague in Ward 2. He's got taxes on his mind, property taxes, and again, I hate them. Mr. Chairman, if no one else is in the queue, I make a motion to call the question.
If you're asking me if there are other people in the queue, there are. If you want to make a motion to, I'm out. I was on the same thing. Yeah. Alderman Stamper, are you in the queue?
I'm in the queue.
Okay. Alderman Waters, do you want to make that motion, or do you want me to go to Alderman Stamper?
I want to make that motion.
We have a motion to end debate and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That has to pass with 2/3, so I'm going to say that did not pass. Alderman Waters, anything else?
I yield.
Okay. Alderman Stamper.
Thank you. I'm glad I get to kind of put the last word on this, because this is important. When we established the city, taxes, I'm assuming, again, it's been a while since I've read your book, Mayor, but I assume we had a tax rate going pretty early on in the process. And I don't know when the trash fee came in, but this is pretty fundamental to the city. I mean, we're talking about $72 property here, but what we're in essence talking about is a new fee or tax, however you want to do it. And I think we all respect the former vice mayor and senior alderman from Ward 2, and I certainly, I think of most people very cognizant of the issues with property taxes in the tax freeze program that's currently available, and how this would not be seniors would not be able to avail themselves of a great program that we have in Sumner County for the tax freeze. So I think we've all thought through these things, and probably why the board's ready to vote and pass this thing and put it to bed. We've all thought through the issues of putting more burden on our citizens. But as I was hearing some comments about how different properties were benefiting from different layouts of the land and those types of things, it got to me thinking about the property tax bill we pay for the county. The vast majority of it goes to our schools, and we have folks in this community that don't have children. And so they're not really seeing a direct benefit for their children. They don't have any, or that are grown, or they've transplants into the area. But what they're doing is they're paying for a better community. They're paying for the children that are here to get a top-notch education. What we're paying for here is for improved, much-needed infrastructure help that Chip and his group has come time and time again to say, I don't have somebody for that right now. We need more budget. We need more hands on deck. They do a tremendous job, but we've got to fund them. The fear of robbing the piggy bank for other things, not robbing, I shouldn't say that, but using it legally for other areas of need, that temptation becomes great, and this kind of ties our hands. It says we care about your drainage issues. We care about fixing this, and we're going to dedicate the resources needed to make this a great place to live. By the time I got to church Sunday, I'd already texted Chip. I said, Drake's Creek was rough. A lot of potholes. Again, streets at hvtn.org. Those rains did a lot to it, and they were out there with cold patches shortly thereafter. And they do a great job, but they're underfunded, and I don't like to put any extra burden that's not needed. But we are a community, and we are all kind of in it together, and that's kind of our role. I've never felt good about raising people's fees. I get it, $72 a hit at once a year that's a little bit of a bite instead of paying it monthly. That'd be easier to swallow. How it plays politically, I don't know. If you want to call it raising taxes or, however you want to work, we need to own that. We need to. We got budget time around the corner. That might be an actual tax increase, but whatever you want to call this, it's needed, and I'm glad we're doing it. I think it's a big step. It's a big moment in Hendersonville's history, and we're moving forward as a city. And I'm proud of this board and the work that so many of y'all have done to get this to where we are tonight. Really proud of this, actually. And now we can vote.
Alderman Stamper, thank you. All those in favor of second reading ordinance 2017-42, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passed unanimously. Next, we have second reading of ordinance 2000. I'm sorry. We have a motion to recess.
We need 5 minutes.
We have a motion to recess. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of taking a 5-minute recess, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no.
No.
He's got a sick wife.
We're gonna have to call the roll. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye when Kay calls your name.
Brown,
I suppose, aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Cunningham,
I suppose aye.
Frost. Is he already gone?
No.
Frost,
He said aye.
Wake him up, stay on.
Ham, aye.
Frost,
said yes.
Gilly,
Yes.
Trelli. Skidmore, Sprouse, Stamper.
No.
Waters,
No.
Woodcock,
No.
Clary.
Yes.
I think that
That
passed.
passes. You can hold it. 9-3. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
I tried, Jim.
Thank you. 9-3.
No, the ordinance about the Joseph Taylor punch list.
Did you stay here the whole time? We got 5 minutes gone. Who we miss? We got everybody? There we go. Next, we have second reading of ordinance 2017-41. This is an ordinance rezoning the property located on the east side of Carrington Road, south of East Main Street. Alderman Petrelli. We have a motion and a second. Alderman Frost.
I'm going to make it quick. I was against this on the first reading, and I'm against it on this reading. The density is too extreme for my pleasure, and I know the applicant said that they intend on following through with their application on what they want to do, but I don't think anybody on this board can say in absolute certainty that we know what's going to happen in the future, because we don't. For whatever reason, whatever circumstance, or whatever situation were to happen, remember this is at a zoning for multifamily residential, and we all know multifamily will accept apartments. I do not want any more apartments. So I can't support this. I did in the first reading. I respect the applicants. I thought their project is nice. I think it's in the wrong place. It's just too dense. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Frost, thank you. Alderman Sprouse.
Thank you. Let's just kind of give everyone an idea of what we're looking at, since not everyone who's watching the meeting recognizes the address and nobody has the map. We are looking at a vacant lot that is one parcel off of Gallatin Road. The reason why it's one parcel off Gallatin Road is it's behind a liquor store. If you go a little bit one parcel further off Gallatin Road, you are looking at an existing apartment complex. I do not see in any realistic way whatsoever that we're ever going to see acre lots. I don't think you're going to see someone putting something there. I think that what's being proposed to us is single-family homes. It is supported by the property owner to the north of it. It would be essentially a buffer between straight commercial that directly faces Gallatin Road and an existing apartment complex which has much higher density than anything that would be on this parcel. You're absolutely right. This has to be a straight zoning because the parcel is not large enough to even qualify for a PUD. If we had a PUD, we could be very strict, and we would have a plat in front of us right now. We would know not only exactly how many parcels, but what the houses would look like. We could go into to debate and discussion about what the design's going to be that we're going to require, what the amenities are going to be. But really what we're looking at is a very, very small parcel that's not going to tip the balance of the community one way or the other because of its size. That is a very good buffer in between, but here's what we have. We have a property owner who has made significant investments in this community, lives in the community, and is preparing to bring much larger projects to this board that will require multiple approvals of either the Planning Commission, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, or both. So what we have is someone who has developed a good reputation with the products with the properties they have so far in the community, but has not come to us yet for anything, but will be coming to us. And this project is a heck of a down payment. Because quite frankly, if someone does us poorly on this and does not deliver what's promised, even though it's not required by law, required by his word, does not deliver, then he's in a whole world of hurt on the much larger properties, the most valuable projects that he has to have. So we have both the benefit of some history and we have the benefit of a heck of a stick to use with someone if they don't do what they say they're going to do. I urge you to support this project. I think if something's a nice project, I think that if it fits the design through our Planning Commission, fits through our Planning Department, it's kind of hard to say it's nice, but I don't want it. it's kind of hard to say what's the reason to be against it. So I encourage the board to support it. Thank you.
I'm going to ask for our planning director to give us some ideas. There's been a couple things that's changed since we last saw this applicant that gives us some guarantees of what he's promised. Go ahead, Keith.
I think some of the things probably is echoing what Alderman Sprouse was talking about. The developer does have a few potential projects that he's looking at where he will be either going back through the Planning Commission or, depending on the direction that he takes the project, could end up going back to the Planning Commission with a plan development on another property and could end up back here before Boma. We've talked about this as far as it being straight zoning. We can't really put conditions on it, so it really is a little bit of a trust issue, in looking at it. But I wish there were conditions or a way that we could do that and put conditions like we're kind of used to with the plan development process. But on the straight zoning, that's just not possible to do.
Alderman, please stick around, Keith.
Okay.
Alderman Stamper.
I've gone back and forth on this when I did that night. In an ideal world, I guess, in my mind, we would just look at each proposal on its merits, regardless of who's bringing it before us, who's developing it, what the future may hold, and is this particular decision before us as if it were the only one that's ever going to happen. I mean, I don't know if that's even the ideal, but that's why I've been hesitant to just approve it, because going to straight MFR I don't like. I do not want to do that. I have every confidence in the world, confidence that what's being proposed is what's going to happen. No one does know what's going to happen in the future, and it's hard to prognosticate. With one of the aldermen in the area already speaking out against it, I'm probably just going to vote. I'm going to vote no on it. But if it does pass, I do believe it'll be done as it's said. It's just I can't go to straight MFR with no conditions.
Thank you, Alderman Stamper. Alderman Skidmore.
Thank you. Just briefly, would Mr. Patel, is it okay if we ask him a couple questions?
Without objection to suspending the rules, Mr. Patel, come on up here, please. This is Dean Patel. Go ahead, Alderman Skidmore.
Mr. Patel, thank you for coming this evening, and you and your staff or your associates there coming this evening, and appreciate you coming and talking or having the project come before us. Can you, a little bit, I know we got into it, but just a little bit, but two things. Could you describe, and I don't mean, just quickly, describing the project within itself and also the amenities that will be there on this property?
Sure. So what we're proposing here, and I understand the Alderman, I appreciate you all speaking, allowing me to speak. We are looking at putting 15, 16 homes, small community homes that are all one story for elderly people that are in there. Originally we were going to go with a concrete structure on it, but we revamped it. We decided to go with brick and decided to go with the thicker walls, so we wanted to try to make sure it is energy efficient again. After the last meeting, I did go back and revisit the whole project, maybe see if I could do something that is commercial zoned, but there was also a traffic issue. If I put it something like a hotel, a 100-room hotel with a nice franchise on it, you're going to have 100 cars coming in on the weekend, going out. On this community right here, if you got 16 homes that are in there, 2 cars per home, 32 people coming in and out at their own time frame. So traffic's never going to be an issue. Like I said, my word is my bond. I've got a bigger project that I'm bringing to the Planning Commission, to you guys here in a few months, right there on Saunders Ferry on 120. So if I default on over here and I don't say what I'm going to do, well, I've got a larger investment there that's going to sit there. I've lost my trust. But not only them 2 projects, Hendersonville is a growing city, so we're always scoping around. There's a lot of other properties that we've looked at for development. But I feel that buying this piece of property right here, we also bought a little parcel from Bill Sinks, a little square that actually joins this into a nice community. So I think we've got another board that actually shows the layout of the 16 homes in there too. So once I've decided what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick with it because that's what I'd like to do. So you can see where Carrington Road is. Got one straight road going in, 8 homes on one side, 8 homes on the other side. I wouldn't even think about doing multifamily because if I thought about doing multifamily, I don't think I'd do it there anyways. Understanding that that something could happen to me tomorrow and somebody else could come in and do multifamily, I think this will be a project that will be carried out between myself and my partners and my family. Regardless what happens, I want to be in and out of here within a year, maybe 14 months. So that's the way we plan on things. I'd really like to get your support on what we're doing over here. If I prove myself in the beginning, next time you see my face, you guys will know I'm going to do it. And hopefully it won't be second time, third time. I'll be coming back here quite a few times. So just give me the opportunity to do what I can.
Okay, thank you. And then just one final question I have, Mayor, and then I'm done on this project for the evening. It looks good. Far better than what I was imagining it to be. Did we ever come to an agreement on about the roads, whether, is it private or you're going to ask the city to accept them? Yes, the city to accept them. Okay, good. Okay, because I was hoping you'd say that, that we would do that instead of a private road. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Mr. Patel, if I could, give us a timeline on what you're thinking if you were going forward from here tonight.
So if everything got approved, next step is to get with the engineering company, which is Clover Engineering, who we've used. They would engineer the plans, would go back and forth with the city planners, with the stormwater. Obviously, it is a big thing with them. Once we get a site plan approved, I know exactly what kind of utilities I got to put in there. So I'm hoping that my timeline for engineers and going back and forth with the city is maybe 6 to 8 weeks. It could be 3 months. Once we've got everything approved, start putting all my equipment there, put the roads in. Getting all the grading work done, and then as far as the homes, they're pretty much cookie cutter homes. So once you start on one of them, we'll start on one foundation, work our way around, and I'm pretty sure that we can get all these homes built in 12 months from starting construction minimum. Maybe sooner than that because we're only talking 16 to 1,800 square feet. They may be bigger, they may be smaller. So a quick in and out. Obviously, we're trying to bring new residents into the city, so this will be new property taxes coming in. If there are new people coming in, residents that are buying from the city, whether it's grocery stores or something, every dollar that does count. And that's pretty much my timeline on it.
So within 3 months, we'll know that apartments aren't going there.
I'm hoping that once you guys say, yeah, my engineer, which is Clover Engineering, is going to start doing the engineering work and start submitting plans. We've already got preliminaries on them, but then we can work with stormwater and planning to know exactly what your requirements are, make sure we detain everything. I'm doing a couple of projects in Nashville where we've used rain gardens, understanding exactly what you've got, using a rain garden, which kind of contains everything on your own property. That may be an option over here, too. Main thing is we don't want anything going out in the street or going out into the storm drains that you guys have. If we can use our own property that we've got, it makes it more easier for us. So the quicker the better. So my timeline will basically work on as far as approvals and how soon we can get everything approved for infrastructure and stuff.
See, to me, I'll know that apartments are there when I start seeing concrete pads.
Oh, most
when
definitely.
I see multiple concrete pads out there.
Well, my whole thing
definitely
is if I can break ground in the next 2-3 months and get concrete work done, March, April, May time, I've got good season to do it in.
That answers my question. Thank you. Thank you. Alderman Campbell, question or?
A question for Keith Free. Keith, would this be a down zoning or an up zoning based on a multifamily residential or the general commercial that it's rated for right now?
It'd be down zoning from
That's what I thought.
general commercial to multifamily. As far as
a lower
intensity,
impact on the area, correct, when it comes to traffic?
Yeah, as far as a strict zoning, multifamily would be a notch below general commercial.
And I was looking at the map here that's provided to us on page 41, and it says MFR to the west, MFR just straight across the street from it, general commercial on the back side of it. So basically this property is surrounded by either multifamily residential right now or commercial, general commercial. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's just basically changing one small three-acre lot to MFR to accommodate this number of houses.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Alderman Campbell, anything else?
I'm done, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alderman Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor. Real short. Are you going to have street lights in there? Yes. Okay, because I didn't see that in the drawing. And I think somebody else asked you about amenities. What other amenities are going to be there?
Well, originally when we came to you, we were looking at doing the concrete homes where everything was going to be all paid for, with the utilities, water, all going to be under one bill. You pay an association fee of $3.99. I think we kind of scrapped that idea because everybody works on a different pace. You know, some people may want to keep the lights on 24/7. Some people may want to just have a small water bill. So I feel that if we just do regular homes that we have to do, everybody's on their own after that. They just go ahead and take care of their own lot, their own land, their own utilities and everything. So we did have original amenities in the plan with the concrete structure, but if we go with the traditional style, I think it's just basically every man for themselves at that time.
And square footage?
Square footage is going to run anywhere from 14 to 1,600 square feet. I think we plan maybe a little bit bigger if we had to, but we do it all single story, so we want to try to cater towards the older community so we can make it like a, you know, I live up in Gillisford. Tara Lane is like 55 and overs, and everybody over there is just a happy community. So I'm trying to make sure that this is a happy community, that somebody comes along, and I think we can achieve it. Biggest thing is making sure we can stand it, achieve it, and if this is good, maybe I can do some other smaller pilot projects in the area, but you know, this is a perfect location for elderly community where you don't have to go way back into the streets and stuff.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
Alderman Cunningham, thank you. Alderman Brown?
Yes, sir. Did you say your association fee was $3.99?
Well, when we say association fee, the fee that we were going to put in to implement the original plan was the $3.99 would have covered like electric, water, gas, the whole 9 yards, because it was going to be solar panels.
Monthly or yearly?
No, that would have been a monthly, but we're going to scrap that idea now.
Okay.
Originally, we were going to, because we had the concrete structure homes at that time, and then during the first reading, you guys were a little afraid of what the concrete's going to look like, so we figured we'd go with traditional brick. Every house will have its own unique different color on it, so we'll bring some color to it. And I'm a big fan of landscaping, so I want to make sure the trees, the landscaping, when somebody drives by it, they'll double take it and say, wow, what is that? Biggest thing is landscaping really brings out the beauty in everything.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dean. All those in favor of ordinance 2017-41 on second reading, please signify by saying aye when Kay calls your name. Those opposed, please say no.
Brown,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
Frost, Gilly,
No.
Petrelli,
Yes.
Skidmore,
Yes.
Sprouse,
Yes.
Stamper,
No.
Waters,
No.
Woodcock, Clary.
Aye. That passes 7-5. Next, we have second reading of ordinance 2018-7. This is an ordinance amending ordinance 2017-29, appropriating funds for a feasibility study regarding impact fees for development in Hendersonville. I so move. A motion, a second. Alderman Sprouse.
I spoke to this on first reading. I appreciate Mr. Free and his conversation providing the documentation. I just have a very hard time. On a regular basis, we're asking to pay for feasibility studies, and sometimes I feel like the feasibility study is less to actually get the information and more just a referendum and showing we're for a project or against a project. It's more window dressing than substance. And when we're at a we're probably getting close to $100,000 in feasibility studies in the past year that we didn't know about when we passed the budget. I have a very hard time thinking about that. I mean, we just paid a consultant to review a report that was put together about our HR director. HR director conducts an investigation, makes a recommendation, but we still have to pay an outside agency to come in and look at the recommendation, which I thought was pretty clear. And so it kind of bothers me that if we can't trust staff to do the jobs, perform the tasks we hire them to do, if it's an issue of them not having time to do that, then we need to look at being able to add to their project, add to their staff, add to their budget so they can do that. We're looking at something here where we're rapidly getting to the cost of having someone on staff full-time for the remaining of the budget year. Instead of doing a feasibility study and hiring somebody else to do the work, we could give the money to Mr. Free and he could hire someone. And they'd be on staff and they get to do more things. I mean, when you're starting to look basically, the information I would need to know whether or not we were to implement impact fees were what our current fee structure is. What are our codes fees, our building fees, our fire fees? What are they? How do they compare to communities immediately around us? Competing communities in the same market, folks that people are having to decide, are they going to locate in Gallatin? Are they going to locate in Brentwood? Are they going to locate in Hendersonville? How they are on comparable sized cities. So it may be a suburban city around Memphis. It may be a suburban city around Birmingham. And then the same questions about impact fees. And what are the fees? When did they impose them? How have they structured them? When have they made changes? And what has the overall effect been upon their budget and their rate of growth? I don't know anybody between our capable finance department, our capable ECD director, and our capable planning department. I don't know why we can't get that information in-house. And I don't want, we had a previous vote that seemed to be more of a referendum on do you support the idea as much as you support the way it's structured and it's managed and it's implemented. And I don't want this to be the same thing. I don't want this to be a vote against this means you're against impact fees. No, I'm going to vote against this and encourage you to do the same because I feel like that it's wasteful spending so we can say that we voted for something to say that we were in favor of impact fees. When I would much rather, as in the case with our HR director, I'd much rather trust the abilities of our highly capable and professional city staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Strauss. Alderman Waters.
Thank you, Mayor. Keith, can I ask you a question? Mayor, can I ask him a question?
Sure, come on up, Keith, please.
Keith, why are you asking, or why are we being asked to raise from 40 to 55,000? Can you explain to me?
Yes, Alderman Waters. Initially, when we determined to move forward in getting a feasibility study done, we estimated 40,000. At that time, I think when we discussed it, we did determine we don't know exactly how much that's going to cost. And instead of just asking for way more than we needed, and then that honestly through this type of process, potentially tipping the hand of potential folks that would bid on the project. In other words, if we said 80,000, then chances are we're going to have all the bids closer to 80,000 because all of this is public record. So most of them probably knew we budgeted 40 for that, and that was just an estimate. So now they've come in, and we have 3 estimates, and they're pending right now. We haven't made a decision on which one to go with, but all of them are above 40,000. But 2 of them are in that range below between 50,000 and probably 55,000. So 15,000 would give us ample amount of funds to do it. So it wasn't anything initially where we knew for sure it was going to be 40. It really we just didn't know what it was going to be. And fees that other communities have been paying have been all over the place, and a lot of them have been actually in the 80, 85,000. Of course, they're different communities, and they have different things where they have utilities and all kinds of different things involved.
Okay, so without a doubt, you know it's going to exceed 40,000.
Oh yes, sir.
Okay.
More than likely, it will be less than 55,000, but it'll probably be somewhere between 50 and 55.
You won't come back for more?
No, sir.
Okay. What do we get for this feasibility study? Can you, in a nutshell, real quick, tell us what we're going to get?
Yeah, I think what we'll get is we'll get a professional third party that'll come in and take a look at, hey, what is a set cost of city services? They'll look at everything that we have, and they'll come up and determine what's a reasonable cost for city services in order to determine for people that get new building permits, how much is it fair to charge them, not for future services, but for existing services. Additionally, depending on which impact fee direction we go with, if we go with a bigger impact fee, then that ties into, I believe, what Alderman Campbell was talking about, that I went to the capital projects and was talking about a capital improvement plan and a financing plan, that's where you have something that's more detailed and it's tied to funding mechanisms, and then the impact fee is just a part of it. So it can get fairly complex, but that fee will cover, the fee that we're paying will cover that cost. And these are complicated things that they're looking at. Certainly on the surface of it, certainly things that staff, I think all the staff that Alderman Sprouse mentioned certainly has the ability to obtain a lot of that information, and we'll work with whoever we hire to get that. But it's important also to have that third party. Otherwise, it's us kind of coming up with it, and we've got everything else to do, and that's not really, our main focus. It's better to have a third party, because you've got to draw a nexus. If you're going to charge people when they get permits, businesses or new commercial things, new residential things, you got to build a nexus between, you have to pay this much. Well, why do I have to pay that much? Legally, we need to be able to say this is why, and here's the calculations on how that works. So
Okay.
that's kind of what we would get from that.
I appreciate that. If, when this is passed tonight, how quick can we get this study and get on with it? Because, man, we sure need it bad, okay? How quick do you think?
Probably, if this passes tonight, I'd say by the first of next week, we'll select the contractor, and we'll go with that contractor. And I think it's going to take probably 3 to 4 months for us to get back here before Boma to get what they find and have some direction on where to go. And then probably, depending on which one we pick, as we start through the process and they're evaluating, they'll use their professional abilities and knowledge of this to tell us, hey, this is kind of a waste for us to go in this direction. We really need to keep it focused here. And so that's part of what you get as well. Until we go through that process, we really don't know what the cost is per unit of square foot or what, that type of thing that we should charge for development impact fees.
So we could be looking at August. We should have something to go on.
Yeah, what is this, 2, 4, hold on just a second, 4, 6, June, no, I'd say June, July. I'd say June, July, possibly.
Okay.
Depending on how quickly it goes. And some of their timelines that they gave us could change, because this is about a month and a half old, what they had given us. So some of their timeline projections they gave us of about 4 months, I mean, it could stretch out a little bit longer now that we're engaging them about a month and a half later after they've submitted their stuff.
Okay, before I let you go, have you had that grandbaby yet?
Yes, I have.
When?
February the 7th.
Boy or girl?
Beautiful boy. So.
You can sit down
All right.
now.
Thank you.
I know you're tired.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Waters. Alderman Woodcock.
I'm going to let Keith sit down. Keith, can you come back to the podium? Keith, just clarify, I asked this question before because I tend to agree about feasibility studies and their need sometimes. But I was told that this feasibility study was more or less mandated.
Yeah.
Does that mean yeah?
Yeah, it is. If you want to impact potentially, I'm not meaning the largest, but if you want to impact fully, don't want to take off the table that we don't want to fully impact or enact an impact fee, then you've got to have this to go to the top notch of this is what's going to happen. It doesn't mean if we had staff that had that experience and ability in doing these impact fees, it doesn't mean, I guess, we couldn't possibly do it. But there is that separation if you kind of do it yourself and you don't have a third party that has experience in doing that. You certainly, all of this, has potential litigation or litigious type things associated with it if it's not done correctly. So if you enact an impact fee and you haven't really made sure you've answered all those questions and you can draw that nexus to how you came up with it, then, it could be questioned.
So it's more highly encouraged by the state versus mandated?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm not familiar with any community that we've talked to that they have actually done it themselves. They've hired outside consultants to do the work.
But one way or the other, someone completed a study?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Woodcock. Alderman Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Keith, regarding our capital projects conversation, this is where we need to come up with our long-term, short-term and long-term capital improvements that would be part of these impact fees we're talking about now.
Yes.
Will they be considered into this fee structure they're looking at right now, that we need to come back, say, and get together as a board of mayor and aldermen and have a conversation regarding those short-term and long-term capital projects, so we can have a list to give to the person that they can sit down and say, oh, you want to do a civic center? Well, in 5 years, that needs this much funding from today's dollars of, improvement to our community, or say a new police admin building or something along those lines. I mean, we know in the future we're going to need to build those products most likely, and we need to get back with you so we can get this into this impact fee structure that we've been talking about. So when do we need to have a meeting, possibly as Boma, to talk about these items?
Yeah. Even honestly, even if for some reason we didn't move forward with the impact fee process, we still need to move forward with a capital improvement plan. Whether that's fully formal or informal, hopefully would be something more formal that we would define, everybody working together, and we probably would start on that really, really quick. That's one of the first
Yes,
things
sir.
I think that we need to do as a part of the impact fee process. But determine what are those projects, that are large projects, not just small stuff, but the large projects that are the vision and dreams of things that need to be done, and then associate a price tag with those. And then, if possible, which is the difficult part, is maybe prioritize what those would be, and then utilize that in this development of this impact fee to determine what projects would we use the impact fees for to start grinding out.
And that could include road projects such as
Yeah.
Drake's Creek Stop 30, Center Point Road, Anderson Lane, or, Saunders Ferry Road.
A new fire station?
New fire station or two, yes, sir.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's what I was wanting to make sure the impact fees, all that's included in that conversation. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Alderman Campbell, anything else?
Yes, sir. No, I'm done.
Thank you, Keith. All those in favor of second reading of ordinance 2018-7, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no.
No.
That passes 11 to 1. Next, we have first reading of ordinance 2018-1. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 17, about refuse and trash disposal. I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. Alderman Stamper?
Mayor, I just kind of have a question, because it seems like sometimes ordinances, there's backstory, as I learned in general tonight with one of the ordinances proposed there. But on this one, what, if I may, kind of prompted this need? Is this cleanup, or is this a housekeeping type item? I notice we're adding owners of property used for lodging, camping, recreational vehicle. To me, that's almost excluding, everybody else, right? So before it was everybody, and now it's just these folks?
It really wasn't the intention. The intention was that we have some residential type uses. They might be multifamily, they might be trailers, they might be hotels. And we realized that they don't have an obligation to take trash from their residents. Everybody else in the city has an obligation to make sure their trash gets out to the curb or gets in a dumpster. And these folks don't. And we're having a problem with some folks, especially some of the higher density areas.
So you're saying that previously, this category didn't fall in
Exactly.
under, now we're grouping them in?
Exactly.
I think this is a great ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great?
Great.
Okay.
Good job.
All those in favor of first reading 2018-1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have first reading of ordinance 2018-5. This is an ordinance, it's increasing the minimum amount for purchasing with informal competitive bidding. Alderman Cunningham,
Also moved.
have a motion and a second.
Second.
Want me to comment now?
If you want to, but nobody else is in the queue. Okay. All those in favor of first reading of ordinance 2018-5, excuse me. Alderman Brown.
A little slow, it's getting late.
I understand.
May I ask the sponsor of the ordinance to explain it exactly?
Alderman Cunningham.
Yes, there seemed to be some wasted manpower and time, and especially time getting some work done, because anything that was over $1,000 needed to go to a bid process, and we increased the amount to $2,500 from $1,000. So, especially in the fire department and public works, there was a time element there that was curtailing their productivity. This more or less streamlines the process.
Alderman Brown.
This is the first reading. I'll save it. I'll have a question probably on second reading.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Stamper.
I was going to attempt to answer the question that he's probably going to ask on second reading. I just went through finance, and it hasn't been raised in I forgot how many years. So it's one of those things where inflation is kind of catching up, because we don't index a lot of things to inflation. I don't think we index anything to inflation, so we just periodically raise it. Oh, he's back in queue. I'm done.
Appreciate Alderman Stamper. Back to Alderman Brown.
How did we come to the, can I ask her again?
Yes.
Sure.
How did we come to the $2,500 figure?
Chairman Cunningham.
It was a discussion especially between fire and public works. There's a lot of items that fall into that category, where even if it's $1,010, it has to go out to bid, and it was wasting a lot of time and critical needs to be done, and the process was taking weeks instead of hours to get them the resources that they needed.
So this is items that's not in their budget, not in the budget line item.
No, this is just increasing the threshold from when something has to go out to bid. Increasing the threshold from $1,000 to $2,500. So anything under $2,500, they can just go ahead and order with the purchase order and department head approval and that sort of thing. And it's already in the budget. It's already in their budgets. So we're not allocating any additional funds. Does that answer your question, Alderman Brown?
Completely. I'm just pondering if that's enough. 2,500 is enough.
We're just revising the process.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Brown. All those in favor of first reading of ordinance 2018-5, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have first reading of ordinance 2018-6. This is an ordinance amending our budget ordinance 2017-13 by appropriating general funds in the amount not to exceed $28,000 for Bluegrass Downs subdivision. Alderman Skidmore?
Yes, so moved.
Motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor of ordinance 2018-6, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have reading of resolution 2018-4. This is a resolution to declare equipment owned by the city to be surplus property and directed disposal of that equipment. Alderman Skidmore?
Yes, so moved. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor of resolution 2018-4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have item H, and that is, I'm sorry? Okay. Next, we have item H, which is resolution 2018-13. This is the resolution accepting dedication of the completed streets in Glenbrook North, Phase 3, Section 8, and the Andrews Run extension. Alderman Skidmore?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor of resolution 2018-13, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have resolution 2018-14. This is a resolution concerning the separation of the Parks Director from employment in the city of Hendersonville. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of resolution 2018-14, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have other agenda items. We have a motion to group these by Alderman Woodcock and a second from Alderman Gilly. All those in favor of grouping items A through I under other agenda items, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. That passed unanimously. Next, we have a vote on all the items A through I as a group. All those in favor of items A through I, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passed unanimously. You see, we have another item for information for our next meeting. Alderman Frost, we have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That passed unanimously. Thank you.